Hey guys, welcome back to the corner. And yes, we finally completed the Shibuya timeline arc. And these videos, they're just so difficult for me to edit. I don't know why. I'm just so new to them, kind of like the voiceover videos with, pictures or other clips in the background. So this one just took me so long to do, so sorry about that. But for those of you who don't know, Jujutsu Kaisen is absolutely amazing. I'm in love with the series right now. I do a weekly video every Sunday as the chapters come out, except for this past Sunday because I was making this video. But basically what I wanted to do was go back to the Shibuya incident arc because this is like in my opinion, one of the best shonen arcs of all time, especially of the last decade. So what I did was I went back to the first page, the first chapter of the Shibuya arc, all the way back to chapter 82. I went through every page, every panel, found the timestamps, and timelined the entirety of it, all the way up until chapter 139, 136, where it ends. And here it is. So let's get into it. But before we do that, guys, thank you for hitting the subscribe. Thank you for hitting the like button because we just broke 500 subscribers. It's huge and it feels good. And I can't begin to say how much I appreciate it from each and every one of you guys. I love you guys. You know that. So let's get into the video. Holy shit. The Shibuya incident arc is finally over in Jujutsu Kaisen. And I gotta say, it's honestly probably the most intense Shonen Jump arc we've had in recent history. It begins shortly after Mekamaru is defeated by Suguru, Geto, and Mahito. Fast forward to 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2018. A 400-meter radius curtain is cast over Shibuya, centered at the Tokyo branch of the Tokyo department store. This is the first incident recorded in the Shibuya crisis, and quickly sets into motion the Jujutsu sorcerers as they prepare for battle. They realize that this curtain only prohibits those civilians trying to leave, but allows them to freely enter the curtain, whilst also allowing auxiliary managers and Jujutsu sorcerers to freely come and go as they please. 8:14 p.m. The following three teams arrive and assemble at key locations outside the curtain, given the order to stand by and dispatch any curses that escape past Gojo and the curtain. These teams consist of Nanami Team, Kento Nanami, Grade 1 Sorcerer, Takuma Ino, Grade 2 Sorcerer, currently being assessed for promotion, Megumi Fushiguro, Grade 2 Sorcerer, currently being assessed for promotion, Zen'in Team, Nabito Zen'in, Supreme Grade 1 Sorcerer, Maki Zen'in, Grade 4 Sorcerer, currently being assessed for promotion, Nobara Kugasaki, Grade 3 Sorcerer, currently being assessed for promotion. And finally, Kusakabe Team, Atsuya Kusakabe, Grade 1 Sorcerer, and Panda. Meanwhile, inside of the curtain, the civilians trapped start screaming and freaking out for Gojo to come, as Suguru's squad started to spread a rumor saying that Gojo is the only way that they will be able to get outside of the curtain. Fast forward to 8:31, 15 minutes later, Gojo finally arrives and enters the curtain, and quickly makes his way down to the Hikari Shinkyu's first floor basement, where he meets Jogo, Hanami, and Choso. Meanwhile, outside of the curtain, at 8:39 p.m., Team Mei, comprised of Mei Mei, Grade 1 Sorcerer, her younger brother, Ui, and Yuji Itadori, Grade 1 Promotion Assessment on hold, are given the order to go to Shibuya and provide backup for Gojo. However, unfortunately, before they can make it there and roll out, a new order is issued for Team Mei Mei to go to the Meiji Jungmei train station as another curtain has appeared. Now, it seems that this second curtain might have been done on purpose in a sort of way to lure Mei Mei away from Gojo and the Shibuya curtain, as Mei Mei is considered to be one of the strongest sorcerers in the Shibuya incident, along the likes of Nanami, Kusakabe, and arguably Todo, in my opinion. Around this time inside the Shibuya curtain, the three curses engage in combat with Gojo, as they believe with the three of them together, they stand a fair chance in hand-to-hand combat with Gojo. As Gojo is limited with the civilians surrounding him, he cannot go and use free range of his curse techniques or his unlimited void. Geto advises that their main goal should be to kill time, and make Gojo think about curse countermeasurements and how to save the non-sorcerers, as Geto needs 20 minutes of combat before the prison realm is set up and ready to use. So roughly between 8:40 and 8:50 p.m., Jogo, Hanami, and Choso begin to get a little cocky and pressure Gojo more, thinking that they have a chance to beat him. Now this makes Gojo flex hard, as he's surprised they thought they stood a chance at all, and quickly flexes on Hanami, absolutely obliterating him. 8:51 p.m., Team Mei Mei arrives at the Meiji Station and are advised that there may be transfigured humans in the station. This is the first time that Yuji is faced with potentially fighting Mahito again, and flashes back to his last fight with Nanami and Mahito, where he almost died. From 8:51 and 9:03, Mei Mei sends out her crows to scout the station, and at this point, this is when I ship Mei Mei with Itachi. I mean, come on. However, all the crows are quickly killed, and Team Mei Mei decides to split off in order to better investigate the platform. 9:03 p.m., Itadori confronts the Grasshopper curse, aka Perfect Cell. He sees that the Grasshopper is defending the pin which holds the curtain in place. Realizing that defeat is not an option in this, Itadori grows leaps and bounds in his curse energy output and the control of his abilities and techniques, and ultimately defeats the Grasshopper and destroys the pin at 9:14 p.m., lifting the curtain. Sparing no time, Itadori starts heading down further to confront Mahito, where he reconvenes with Team Mei Mei. Continuing down to the lower level, Team Mei Mei finds a transfigured human and the first sign that they are close to Mahito. But before they can notice, Mahito has entered the train with 1,000 transfigured humans and departs for Shibuya on the Fukutoshin line, where Gojo and the non-sorcerers await. While all the events are transpiring with Team Mei Mei, between 8:50 and 9:15, Jogo and Choso are using hit-and-run tactics against Gojo, trying to stay alive and elapse as much time as they possibly can. But not realizing how strong Gojo truly was, 20 minutes have already passed, and he is still not cornered enough for the prison realm to work. That is until 1 minute later, at 9:16, when Mahito's train enters Shibuya and Gojo's location and releases all 1,000 transfigured humans in a Night of the Living Dead situation onto the non-sorcerers in a free-for-all massacre. Now Gojo has to fend off not only 1,000 transfigured human monsters, he also has to fight off Mahito, Jogo, and Choso. So the grand plan is finally unveiled, in pushing Gojo to his absolute breaking point, where he must summon a 0.2 second unlimited void to defeat all 1,000 transfigured humans in the blink of an eye. After successfully killing all 1,000 transfigured humans, Gojo deactivates the unlimited void and comes face to face with the prison realm. The prison realm is a living barrier, the final remnants of the Buddhist monk Genshin. There is nothing that the prison realm can't seal. But in order to be this powerful, there is one caveat, where once open, the person to be sealed must remain within 4 meters of the prison realm for 1 full minute. Now, 1 minute may seem to be a big task, especially with somebody as powerful as Gojo. However, Geto is prepared for this. He has a trump card where he reveals that he's actually been playing Weekend at Suguru's and shows his face to Gojo. Gojo, now seeing one of his oldest and greatest friends of all time, who he believed to be dead, makes him flash back to 3 years worth of memories. The 1 minute that he needs to be near the prison realm is relative to Gojo's perception of time, and in his mind, he's flashing through years and years of memories. So that 1 minute seemingly passes in an instant, and Gojo is sealed by the prison realm. Realizing that he's sealed and there's no escape from this, Gojo decides to speak directly to Suguru. And for a brief second, it seems like Suguru's true mind, true soul, is trying to break free of the reanimation. However, the prison realm closes and tries to process Gojo. But Gojo ends up being too much for the prison realm to quickly process, and the cube becomes immovable for a time being. While all these Gojo events are transpiring between 9:22 and 9:26 p.m., Team Zen'in engages in combat with transfigured humans. and Ichichi is attacked by the side ponytail curse user. Realizing that they need to help Ichichi out, Nobara and Nita are sent as backup, while Maki continues to engage with the Transfigured, and Nobito lazes around. Around 9:26 p.m. after Gojo is sealed, Mini Mecha Maru appears in Itadori's ear and at the Gojo situation to spy and convey to everyone what is going on. As none of the other sorcerers know that Gojo is sealed at this point, Itadori is the first to learn. In light of the new situation, Team Mei Mei decides to split up, with Mei Mei and Ui Ui continuing down the train tracks towards Gojo, and Itadori heading up above ground to alert all the other sorcerers that Gojo has in fact been sealed. 9:26 p.m. Geto and the Special Grade Curses discuss the situation. Geto states that he will stay and watch the prison realm until it is finished processing Gojo. The Special Grade Curses decide to argue over what they will do with Itadori. Choso remarks that he wants to go out and kill Itadori and Nobara. Mahito proposes a game, wherein whoever sees Itadori first gets to choose what they will do with him, with Jogo wanting to feed him as many of the cursed fingers as possible in order to bring Sukuna back, the others wanting to kill him. Around 9:27, once alone, Geto is confronted by Mimiko and Nanako, who demand that Geto's body is returned. Geto threatens them and they quickly leave. Between 9:27 and roughly 9:40, Itadori finally makes it above ground and shouts out as loud as he can, Toto level, the Gojo has been sealed, alerting Team Nanami and Team Kusakabe. However, Team Zen'in still does not know and does not hear Itadori. Team Nanami and Itadori meet up and debrief. Nanami separates from the group and heads down outside the curtain to advise the higher-ups. Ino takes command of the team, him, Itadori, and Fushiguro. Around 9:40, Nobara and Nita finally run into Side Ponytail Curse User. Between 9:40 and 9:44, the battle between Nobara and Side Ponytail commences. Before Team Ino moves out, Ino decides to debrief the team on the dire situation they are in with Gojo being sealed. Number 1, the Gojo family will fall from power. Team Gojo, the Gojo family right now is a one-man team of Satoru Gojo, who saves many of sorcerers and adds a balance to the world. If he falls from power, the different families of sorcerers and the Jujutsu higher-ups will be fighting over that control. And second, the balance of power will collapse. With the sorcerers in their squabbling feud, various enemy curse users and curse spirits alike will both make their moves and rise. This could lead to the fall of humanity in Japan. Or maybe the world. So Team Ino decides to destroy the curtain before Nanami returns. They brainstorm for a bit and realize that the curtain users are likely in the highest point, on top of Shibuya Tower, and head there to destroy it. Around 9:44, Nanami finally finds Ichichi's heavily injured body. Meanwhile, Nobara and Nita are losing the battle to the Side Ponytail user. Nanami finally arrives at the battle and realizes that the Side Ponytail user was the one that injured Ichichi, and goes ham on him, slash in and dash in 7-to-1 ratio, kicks his ass, and defeats the Side Ponytail user. He tells Nobara and Nita to wait up for allies to arrive, and decides to head off to Maki and Nobito to inform them of the situation. At 10:01 p.m., Team Ino arrives at Shibuya Tower and attacks Awasuka, Granny Ogami, and the grandson on top of Tower C. Awasuka is thrown from the top of the tower by Itadori and Nu, thus starting two different battles, Fushiguro and Yuji, and Ino against the grandson and the grandma. Between 10:01 and 10:04 p.m., Itadori and Fushiguro knock out Awasuka, destroying one of the pins, while Ino destroys one of the other pins up top. Realizing that there's finally a third pin, Ino must destroy the grandma and grandson duo. But before he can do so, the grandson has now imbued with Toji Zen'in's curse energy due to the grandma's reanimation curse. Toji proves to be too much for the grandson to control and takes over full control of the body, destroying Ino and then ultimately turning on the grandmother herself. By 10:04 p.m., after Toji defeats the grandma and the grandson, the last curse pin is defeated and he decides to go off on his own on a killing rampage, flinging Ino, a very, very injured Ino, from the top of Shibuya Tower. Luckily, Fushiguro and Yuji are down there to save him, and they ultimately decide to split up, with Fushiguro taking Ino for treatment and Yuji heading off towards the subway station. Flash to Mei Mei and the Shibuya train tracks, who have finally defeated their curses and realized that the curtain has been lifted. At this time, Geto also notices that the curtain has been lifted and that Mei Mei is headed his way. Around 10:10 p.m., Inumaki-senpai finally enters the scene and stops a horde of transfigured humans from moving so Itadori can pass. Itadori then enters the Shibuya Station, where Choso is waiting. Around this time, we start losing track of the timestamps, so I'll put it roughly between 10:10 and 10:20 that Choso and Yuji's fight take place. As soon as he enters the Shibuya Station at 10:10 p.m., Choso immediately starts fighting Yuji, as he's still bitter about Yuji and Nobara killing his younger brothers, Eso and Kechizu. Likewise, at this time, Geto can finally move the prison realm and starts heading down the tracks where he meets Mei Mei and the younger brother. Not wanting to deal with Mei Mei himself, he summons the special grade deity curse, Smallpox. Mei Mei, with the help of her brother, quickly disposes of the special grade Smallpox deity, as we realize that her younger brother actually can use curse techniques as well. Flashback to Yuji and Choso's fight. Choso quickly proves to be too much for Yuji to handle, as he contains one of the Kamo clan's special techniques, blood manipulation, much like Naratoshi Kamo. Luckily, Mekamaru is there to use his brain and help Yuji out of this situation, as they quickly lure Choso to the bathroom, where they can turn on the sprinklers and render Choso's blood coagulation useless. Despite having grown significantly through all these fights and techniques and experiences that Yuji has had, learning how to control his curse technique, learning how to use his brain in his fights, Choso ultimately wins this bout. But before he can deliver the final blow, Yuji's, unbeknownst to him, imprinting technique creates memories that were never there before in Choso's brain, telling him that Yuji is in fact one of his brothers, and that the younger brothers that died were actually in fact Yuji's brothers as well. Having this now in his brain, Choso starts going cray and runs away, leaving a defenseless Yuji passed out unconscious on the ground. Flashback now to 10:20 p.m. and the Team Zen'in storyline. Nanami has finally met up with Maki and Nobito as they head down to the lower levels of Shibuya. Enter new player, special grade curse womb, octopus boy, Daigon. Team Zen'in decides to adopt the speed strategy and trying to take Daigon out as fast as possible, because he seemingly has endless amounts of curse energy and HP at his disposal. But even with 2 grade 1 sorcerers, and one being Nobito, a supreme grade 1 sorcerer, Daigon seems to be unfazed in handling them. The battle rages on for what seems like a long time, but only is a couple of seconds in reality, as Nobito displays his skill set, being one of the fastest that we've seen, besides maybe Gojo himself, attacking Daigon so fast that he has no time to use any of his curse techniques. This results in Daigon doing the unthinkable, the unspeakable, being just born from his cursed womb. He already summons a domain expansion. Now, I think that this feat is incredible, as anybody else who's used the domain expansion at this point has been unrefined or unfinished, or taken numerous fights to learn how to do it. Daigon was just born from his cursed womb and already has summoned a complete domain expansion. That is just completely unheard of. Once inside Daigon's domain expansion, Team Zen'in is utterly hopeless, as every attack, every cursed technique he does instantly hits. They are seemingly on the edge of defeat as Chimera Shadow Garden bursts through the domain and Megumi comes in to save the day. As Megumi's domain expansion has now intruded into Daigon's, Daigon cannot use any of his curse techniques as instant hits. But this comes at one downfall. Megumi must use all of his curse energy at his disposal in a sort of domain expansion tug of war. Realizing that this has a lifespan, he cannot continue to match the boundless domain energy that Daigon produces. They decide to try to use this to attempt an escape. However, before they can escape through the hole that Megumi created, Toji Zen'in enters the battlefield. Not necessarily being totally alive yet, still being a sort of puppet of carnage, Toji is innately attracted to the strongest there, and turns his vision and bares his fangs at Daigon and begins to attack. This is where we get to see just how strong Toji is, as he quickly disassembles Daigon and defeats him. The curse that had fared easily against a grade 1 sorcerer, a grade 4 sorcerer, and a supreme grade 1 sorcerer. Toji just smacks him around like he's nothing. Like, what the hell? After defeating Daigon, Toji adverts his gaze over to Megumi, separating him from the group and taking him out one-on-one. However, before Team Zen'in can help Megumi out, Jogo appears on the scene to avenge Dagon. Jogo quickly disposes of the 3 already injured sorcerers, but before he can lay the finishing blow, he senses that Sukuna has now eaten more fingers. Jogo rushes to the unconscious Yuji, where they realize that the twin sisters have already fed him some fingers. Pissed off, but not wanting to miss this chance, he feeds Yuji the 10 fingers at his disposal. Sukuna finally takes over the vessel and quickly kills the 2 sisters that are a mere annoyance to him at this point. Jogo comes up with his plan of using Itadori's friends as leverage to create a binding vow that will allow Sukuna to take over the vessel for good. Sukuna reveals that he has his own plans, but comes up with a token of appreciation for the fingers to the cursed spirits. If Jogo can land 1 hit on him, he'll do as they ask for now, starting with killing every human in Shibuya. As we don't have clear timestamps for the events that just unfolded, my best guess is the 10:20, 10:10 range to 10:50 p.m., because that's the next timestamp we get, with Toji and Megumi having their bout outside. Megumi does his best to hold his own against Toji, but ultimately Toji proves to be too much, almost killing Megumi a couple times in this fight. But Toji and his heavenly gifted body, strong enough to overwrite the soul, allows him to kill himself, kill the puppet, and free Megumi of this death match. Around 11 p.m., Toji and Megumi's fight is finally over. Except for, as soon as it's done, side ponytail user comes out of nowhere and backstabs Megumi. What a pansy. Finally, at 11:01 p.m., we flash to Kusakabe and Panda's story, where throughout this whole event, they have just been clearing houses and saving as many non-sorcerers as possible. Next, they run into Geto's disciples, the sorcerers who inherit Geto's will. Now, these people don't necessarily side with the curse users and the reanimated Geto, they more side with wanting to just get Geto's body back, so they sit and explain their situation as long as possible, but ultimately are interrupted by Sukuna and Jogo's bout. Jogo and Sukuna burst onto the scene, with Jogo struggling to just land 1 hit on Sukuna, and Sukuna kind of having fun with this as he's finally getting the reins of the vessel completely to himself. Kusakabe realizes that these two are on a whole nother level and tells the Geto disciples to stop fucking around, basically. Think of them as elephants tap dancing on ants. And to be clear, Kusakabe and like are the ants. However, before they can run away, Sukuna teleports down to them and gives 1 rule: if any humans in the area take 1 step, he will kill them instantly. When they look up, they realize that Jogo has summoned a meteorite down, and Sukuna is making them wait to the last second to avoid dodging it. Finally, he says now, laughing like the child he is, as the meteorite is about to crash into the earth, killing everybody in the area. Jesus. Sukuna continues to toy around with Jogo, even allowing Jogo to power up his strongest ability yet. That still doesn't even faze Sukuna. Sukuna ultimately finishes off Jogo, melting him down to a crisp. And then we have a weird moment where it looks like Yuji's imprinting technique happens to Jogo even though he is a curse. And even Sukuna doesn't know what this is. It seems so bizarre. Flashback to Megumi, who on his last leg, realizing that he has no shot of surviving this, tries to summon the 8-handled sword Divergent Sila, Divine General Mahoraga, where once this is summoned, whoever is in the vicinity is taken into the summoning, which includes the sidehead ponytail biatch. Sukuna realizes that Megumi is in a suspended state of death until the ritual is completed, where if the side ponytail user dies, then so will Megumi. But Sukuna reveals that he has something he needs from Fushiguro, so he revives Fushiguro and decides to kill General Mahoraga on his own to void out the ritual. Mahoraga proved to be quite the foe, as Sukuna's only choice was using his domain expansion in an area of 140 meters. Are you kidding me? That is so big for a domain expansion. The goal of this was to overwhelm Mahoraga so we had no chance to heal and finish him off with 1 final blow, which proved to be successful. 11:14 p.m. Sukuna's battle is finally over. He decides to switch back with Yuji so the brat can take a look at all the destruction that he has just caused. Awakening to this, Yuji realizes that he was the vessel that killed all of these people in this whole entire area, everything destroyed, and he almost cannot bear it. Although the switch flips inside of him, realizing that at this rate, he's nothing but a murderer and he needs to move and continue fighting. Yuji decides to push on, continuing slaying curses and saving as many as he can, where he gets to level A7 and sees Nanami confronting Mahito and ultimately being killed in front of Yuji's eyes. Yuji, seeing Nanami-senpai die in front of his arms, after witnessing all the destruction and carnage he's caused previously, decides there's nothing left to do besides kill Mahito and engages in combat. 11:19 p.m., the battle between Mahito and Yuji continues on, with Mahito not wanting to take a hit from Yuji directly, as he's not quite prepared yet, decides to run away and splits off into two separate Mahitos, with Yuji not knowing which one is the real form. Yuji ends up chasing the wrong Mahito and is stuck fighting various transfigured humans and a shadow clone, so to speak, of Mahito, while the real body runs into Kugasaki. This is where Mahito realizes that Kugasaki's curse technique is actually the perfect counter to Mahito's, as her resonance just directly attacks the soul. The two Mahitos decide to run and reconnect with each other, luring Yuji and Kugasaki back together. Unfortunately, once they see this happen and the Mahito switch, Kugasaki is left defenseless to Mahito's hand and takes a direct hit. Yuji, after seeing Kugasaki likely die before his arms, goes absolutely berserk, as she was one of his classmates. She's one that learned and developed along him. He freaks out and decides to recklessly attack Mahito. That ultimately ends up in his downfall as Mahito lands numerous hits on him. Thankfully, my boy Todo Senpai comes in and saves the day. Todo and Yuji enter into one of the most epic tag team matches in Shonen history, with perfect techniques that play off each other, with the boogie woogie and the freaking black flash and divergent fish just completely counteracting, counterbalancing Mahito, throwing him off. Not to say that they don't take significant injuries, as Todo almost dies, loses his hand, Yuji is on the brink of death, but ultimately they do defeat Mahito, even in his evolved perfect Mahito form. We get a little bit quick of a backflash to 11:09 as Todo is entering down into Shibuya to find Mahito and Yuji. We see what's happening outside at 11:30 with Panda and Kusakabe surviving the onslaught of Sukuna, being covered in rubble. And we see 10:36 in Malaysia with Uyu and Mei Mei now running away after almost having died. And we see Choso at 11:28 finally realizing he needs to get back to Yuji and help save him. He has all these memories in him now that are just driving him insane. And finally we get up to the current time of 11:36 p.m. as Mahito is running away trying to be saved by the reanimated Geto, Yuji close behind. Instead of saving Mahito, however, Geto uses his curse manipulation and consumes Mahito, taking all of his curse techniques. As Yuji is on his last leg in this fight, the rest of the Jujutsu sorcerers finally show up to back him up, as he clearly can't have any energy left to suffice in this fight between Geto and him. The ultimate mastermind finally reveals who he is. Narutoshi Kamo, the one who has been behind the scenes manipulating all of this. He's the one who created all the curse rooms, mixed the blood of sorcerers and curses alike, giving Choso the blood manipulation curse technique. Then enter Urame, first ice curse technique user we see. I think that this person is going to be a big play, as they did appear in front of Sukuna, and Sukuna knew them from the past, so maybe, just maybe, they have a bigger role as well once we get to the end of this. The Jujutsu sorcerers continue fighting Nototoshi Kamo as Yuki Tsukumo finally enters in, somebody that I really want to know more about because she seems badass. And they finally are revealed to Nototoshi Kamo's biggest plan, the overall arching plan of this whole incident, to consume all these special grade curses. Unfortunately, he didn't get Jogo, but he did get Mahito, and to enter and break the seals into the Heian arc, the Heian era of curses taking over Japan. And that's where we leave off at the end of the Shibuya arc. Shibuya roll call.